and navigating divorce. Let's be honest, this is going to be tricky on so many levels because selling and moving in itself is a stressful factor to consider in your life. It's change, it's disrupting the norm. Add to that the stress of divorce, and things are going to get pretty tricky. They're going to get sticky. And no matter how amicable it can be, and trust me, there are some fabulous folks that I've had the opportunity to work with, and it has been really amicable. I've also seen the other end of the spectrum. So what I have here today are some notes. I actually have a guide that, if you're curious, you can reach out to me. I'll provide it to you. But I wanted to go over it with you here. Because not everybody reads a PDF, right? So let's talk about what it's really like offloading a property, selling your home, and navigating divorce, because there are so many factors to consider. And right off the bat, before we get into sort of the logistics of a sale, let's talk about the emotions attached to this process, because we just can't overlook it, right? One of the things that I'm really proud of in assisting my clients is actually making sure we make space for the emotions that they're feeling, because moving, like we know, is actually one of the biggest stressors in life, along with death and divorce. Moving is right up there. So let's not forget that we have to check in with ourselves. We have to check in with the process and find a way to acknowledge what we're feeling throughout this entire process to make it as successful as possible. And success is going to look very different for each of us. Each of us that's navigating something of this sort, right? So recognizing and addressing emotions, I have that, is probably your number one. That's going to be your number one when it comes to navigating selling your home while going through a separation and a divorce. While we're validating these emotions, I also want to make sure that we're balancing emotion and logic. I don't know about you, but sometimes I can be pretty unreasonable when emotions are at an all-time high, right? So, be it, I can't, my God, why is it that when I'm trying to think of an example, it doesn't come to mind. But I'll tell you, finding a balance between your emotional attachment to your property and the actual outcome. Okay, what you're trying to accomplish by offloading this property and detaching yourself from the emotions that are all intertwined throughout your home is a tough one. But when you're aligned with the right professionals, the right support systems, you'll get there, right? So I think it's really important, as I go through these notes, it's really important that we talk about the objectivity in the process, right? Maintaining our clear goals that we want to accomplish, each party what they want to accomplish, as well as creating a financial plan, because I'll touch on that a little bit later, because the legalities are really important when it comes to selling a property, equalization, things like that. But you are going to want to talk about your financial plan. So number one in the process, oh, and by the way, this is I think it's 6 steps. It could be 7. I might throw in an 8, but really, I would say the first 6 are really crucial in making sure you're setting yourself up for success when offloading a property and navigating divorce. So first, we're going to recognize and address the emotions that we're going through. There's no way around it. And 2, we're going to have to talk about timing the sale of this property. Okay, if you're the type and you know that, you know what, I can compartmentalize really well. So I can, detach myself from certain things. I know the game plan. I've already created this sort of big vision for where I'm going, and I'm really excited about what's coming next. So I'm going to do what's necessary. Then I think that's a beautiful way to start something like this, which is the end of a relationship, offloading the property. But not everybody is like that. Not everybody is able to be that clear cut and compartmentalized that way. And that's fine, because that's life, right? The dualities of life are a very real thing for all of us. So I would say when it comes to timing selling your home, you're going to really need to enlist the trust of professionals. And you're going to have to enlist professionals that you trust, because you're going to need to trust them unless you're on the ball with your market data points that you've been tracking for a few different cycles. You're going to need help. You're going to need professional help in various ways, probably, to carry you through this next change. So, timing your sale is crucial. Understanding market dynamics is important because these market conditions directly impact the sale of your property, which then directly impacts your net proceeds of sale, your equalization, any other payment plan that you have after this divorce. So, timing is important, as well as considering personal factors. You know, whether it's financial considerations, whether it's the impact on the impact on any children involved. These are all important considerations to think of when it comes to um, offloading your property, right? Because things are going to be a little more trickier for you to organize and manage. However, it can be done if you enlist the right amount of professionals on your side. So, moving on, let's talk about when it actually comes down to moving your property. It's going to mirror what selling any property would look like, right? Pricing. And pricing your property to garner the most amount of attention in any market. Your price is your number one driver that's going to get people through your door. Yes, marketing matters in a very big way, but price is also marketing. The price of your property is going to determine how many people come through the door, how many eyeballs are on your home, and ultimately that foot traffic, that interest, that buzz that it generates is going to determine how many offers you get, and if you're not getting enough traffic through your home, a lot of the times it's price. But there's also other things at play, like marketing your home is equally as important because they say, once upon a time, maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago, they said 96% of home buyers start their journey online with home shopping. Um, I can't think of anybody other than someone very young that doesn't have a cell phone and isn't actively searching on their smartphones for anything. We're walking around with these little mini computers everywhere, and our search starts in the palm of our hand. And so everything needs to be mobile friendly, ready, on YouTube, on every social media platform. That kind of marketing really does count. So part of pricing the home right is also making sure we are balancing financial goals and remembering to be fair in this trade. And I highlight that, and I have that written down because while setting a price that meets your financial needs is really important, so is making sure if you are under ownership, if your property is owned in a way that you both are equal owners, you're going to want to make sure that it's fair. Pricing in a way that's fair. And really, it doesn't matter if you're equal owners, because even if you're tenants in common, or whether you have just a small percentage stake in this property, you're still going to want it to be fair. Because if the goal is to move forward, and this is probably one of the most important things that I talk about when it comes to meeting with clients going through a divorce, listen, what's happening in your relationship is one thing. How we market, position, prepare, price, and ultimately sell your property is something completely different, because you're going to need to be a little bit neutral. You're going to need to be fair with pricing if the goal is to offload the property and move on with your life. Right? Get ready for that next stage, because I'm telling you, more often than not, there is so much life left to be lived. And it's not lost on me that not every separation and divorce is amicable, of course. I mean, look at our court systems, really. And it's not lost on me that some people might actually have more stake in a property than others in a relationship. And I understand that, right? But the goal of a realtor, the goal of your real estate professional, is to give you your data points, understand that there are so many emotions at stake here, and manage and find a way to make sure that whatever it is that you've envisioned for yourself with what's coming next, it can unfold for you. Your best interests are upheld, right? And they're a neutral party, making sure all parties involved in the sale feel heard, understood. So I would just say while we're balancing your financial goals, we also need to make sure that we're fair about what we think is market value for our home and what we're selling at, right? Because the pricing, when it's fair, you also get to make sure that all parties involved are satisfied. Moving on. I mean, I think I've talked about this so many times now. Staging and presentation, right? Staged homes just sell faster and for more money. Not every home needs to be staged. I do understand that, right? I don't think every home needs to be staged. There are some of you are just so fabulous with the homes in the way that you actually live your lives. So a few tweaks can work, but I'm not talking decor. I really am talking moving things around, because the role of a stager, the role of staging is not just to fluff up some pillows and put some curtains up and a couple vases and some, beautiful greens and be like, all right, we're good. That's not staging. That's accessorizing. Let's try that again. That's accessorizing, right? Those are some elements that are involved in the decor portion, but truly staging is flow. Staging is evoking emotions. Staging is a buyer walking through, and this has happened, and going, oh, wow, they've really used the space so well here. Or I can envision my sofa here. I can see our kids play in this room. This is where the office will be. Like, these kind of visions come to life in staged properties. Right? There really is a science to it. There really is a very designer focused design element to staging. And so, depending on your situation, now I've put it in here. I do understand we're talking about selling and offloading a property while managing a divorce, but I'm also talking about selling a property. So, if I was talking to any seller, depending on the circumstance, I'm going to say, I'm going to bring up staging naturally. And I think I'll say most consumers, most sellers actually bring it up for me because, right, you're curious. It's top of mind, rightly so. You see what you see, whether on TV with whatever, home show, or whatever you see on your phone, or if you're on a web portal and you're looking at homes, what homes stand out to you and you know exactly why, right? So with staging comes, highlighting key selling points, right? Whether it's your cozy nook. And this is actually, I love asking this question when I go meet with potential sellers for the first time. As we do their walkthrough, as we talk about their marketing plan, I then want to know, hey, what is your favorite part of your home and why? What do you love about that? And you should just see, I absolutely love when they take a minute to think about it. And some people already know. They're like, oh, it's this reading nook. It's the outdoor space. Oh my gosh, my pool, my outdoor oasis is everything. I've had someone mention it's my garage. Yeah, it's my workshop. That's my zone. I love it so much. Like, those selling features mean everything to me, because that's where you feel the most alive in your home. And we somehow need to spark that interest when it comes down to marketing your home as well. So, kitchens are huge. Kitchen renos are huge. So lots of folks love their kitchen as well. So that's an important part when it comes to staging and getting to know your home better, right? Okay, moving on to probably one of the most important parts of your divorce and selling your home are your legal implications. While I will not be going into in depth about all of the legalities, because you will have your own representation, I can tell you this. I've assisted clients who have both A, had a not so amicable divorce, or B, had a very amicable divorce. In the case of an amicable one, it is possible, provided you have a separation agreement, that you use the same real estate lawyer when it comes time to equalize the net proceeds of sale, whatever other outstanding funds, calculations that need to be made, it is possible in such a unique situation that you use the same real estate lawyer. It can be done. This separation agreement is actually very important. It's one of the first questions I ask when I'm meeting folks who are considering a separation and a divorce, because without that separation agreement, the lawyer really isn't able to divide and equalize these funds. So, in a not so amicable divorce, you know, it is probably in your best interest to find your own representation, to make sure your best interests are upheld, to have both parties come together and negotiate, mediate, whatever it is to get to one common goal, right? Even if that goal is just offloading this property among all the other things you may have to manage, whether it's custody, alimony, whatever. So when you have your own representation, things can be a little bit tricky, but because selling a home on its own involves a ton of legal paperwork. These are binding contracts that you're signing, right? This isn't just, oh, let me just put this offer in, or let me just see if I can sell my home, and someone puts an offer in and, oh, I don't really want to use. These are legally binding contracts. So once accepted, you have the potential of being sued if you don't follow through. So be really sure about the person that you're working with. I'm talking about your real estate professional and any professional, really, your lawyers. Be choosy, interview a few, and make sure that you have the person that is able to manage all of the different emotions that are swirling around this sort of sale. B, know how to manage all of the people involved in a sale of this nature, right from you, the sellers, to the legal professionals, to any sort of home inspector, to multiple people that could be involved, right? You need to be able to manage and make sure nothing falls off the track. Follow the paper trail. Make sure we're meeting deadlines. Make sure we're meeting deposit structures. Make sure everything is being met. So I would say, in terms of your legal implications or any, identifying any legal pitfalls, it really is in your best interest to make sure you work with someone who has such a high regard for it, because you're signing legally binding contracts. So something to think about. This also gives you peace of mind. If this is a complex transaction, having someone who is well versed in this sort of sale and scenario really is going to give you peace of mind, because you're already going to be managing so much. So clear communication is really key throughout the process. I'll tell you, this could be challenging. It could be. Because I would say a lot of our problems stem from a serious lack of communication. And that's something that I am so immersed in personally to just get so much better at. In fact, someone today told me that, and I didn't really understand when he said it first. He said, "You sound like print." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And he said, "You sound like a book." Someone writing, like reading a book. And I didn't know at first if that was a compliment or it wasn't, and I didn't want to overthink it, because God, I overthink it. But I was like, okay, maybe it's because I'm communicating effectively, right? But that's years in the making, right? That's a choice. That's years in the making. I realize that communication is everything. Whether it's with my spouse or my family, or whether it's with you, or whether it's with clients I'm in front of, or anything. It's everything. So clear communication is just as important in a transaction, right? When it comes to trading in real estate and assisting you offloading a property, communication is everything. And I'm also going to stress, I'm not shy to tell my sellers, um, let's everybody be civil here, because we have one goal. And that goal is to sell in the least amount of time for the most amount of money and make this asset work for you. Because at that point, if you've enlisted the trust of a realtor, you've enlisted the help of a realtor, you're at a stage where I'm ready to offload this property and move on. So we're going to switch our minds, and we're going to start thinking of this home as a property. It has served you well. Some things are only meant to serve us for a short period of time, and then it's time to say goodbye and move to the next, right? So that is sort of the kind of communication that I have with my sellers. And of course, when they're navigating divorce and selling, but it's a collaborative process. It is not a me versus them or me with one versus the other. It is a collaborative process throughout it because I understand the heaviness that you're facing. I understand the heaviness that you're kind of carrying with you. And it is so important to make sure that care, compassion, and consideration comes through because we are people, we are humans, and we are having a very human experience, and it just happens to be divorce, and you just happen to have the forethought to invest in real estate. So you know what, even when going through such a transitional time, it's okay to make sure that your asset does the best for you, right? And that's when you enlist a trusted professional. So I'd say that to end it off, I'd say embracing change as a catalyst for growth, that really speaks to me. um, I'm very passionate about things like that. I think it's okay to change. I think it's okay when things, you've outgrown something, but making sure everybody involved is sort of taken care of is priority. It is, right? Because we're in the business of people, and you're going through a transition yourself, so you're in it to make sure everyone around you is taken care of too, right? So um, remember, you're not alone in this journey, right? If you've got specific questions, or if you want a copy of this guide, because I did kind of elaborate really heavily on some of these points, just reach out. So simple. And I hope you found some value here. This is going to go on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, could you like, subscribe, and do all that fancy stuff? It would mean so much to me. Okay, talk to you.